As you open your eyes, blinded by the glaring sun, you see the silhouette of a beautiful world, full of snow-topped mountains, whose peaks pierce the cotton clouds. The blue oceans that dive deep towards the Earth's core, and white cliffs mirrored in silver waterfalls, all of which are dotted with treasures that are yours for the taking. But be warned, for ARK is not bereft of danger. It challenges you to be better, with its harsh environment. Although beautiful by design, it forces you to learn from your mistakes. From even the smallest of bugs to the largest of dinosaurs, everything is a danger. From the cold to the heat, from starvation to thirst. The odds are stacked against you, but your will to survive is strong, and that is what you shall do.
What's going on, guys? Panda here, and today I wanted to discuss something that I think a few people have been asking themselves recently, and that question is, should I buy ARK Survival Evolved in 2020? Am I going to enjoy it? Now, I could say yes and end the video right here, but I know for a lot of people that isn't going to help them come to a decision. So in today's video, I'm going to discuss the pros and cons of the game and what's good about it, what's bad about it, and try and showcase to you why I think ARK is worth you giving a try. So if you have little to no pre-existing knowledge of ARK, I hope that you're going to find this video informative. I would like to say that I'm not actually going to be talking about ARK Genesis in this video because it is a DLC. I have not personally tried it, but I've heard some pretty bad stuff about Genesis, and so if you're a newcomer, I would highly recommend that you stay away from that DLC for as long as you possibly can. Decide on whether you actually like ARK and the core aspects of the game, and then if you think that Genesis tickles your fancy, you can go over there and play that. But from what I have seen and what I've heard, Genesis is an extremely hard DLC, and it does not offer the same experience as the base game. So if you're playing Genesis first, or you've played Genesis but you've not played regular ARK, give ARK another go, because Genesis is so much harder and it's so much more frustrating, and I've heard a lot of people get really angry about it. The whole ARK community is sort of up in turmoil about this DLC because they're not really sure how to feel about it. So yeah, I just wanted to add that in before we start the video. Just quickly before I get into any of my main points, I would like to establish that I do not own nor have I played either of the console editions of the game, and therefore I can't comment on them specifically, but from what I've heard, they're pretty goddamn good ports, and you're not missing any of the content that you would be getting on the PC version if you're playing the console version. So what I've heard is very, very good, but don't take my word for it because I personally haven't played it, so I wouldn't be able to tell you if there was anything missing. But there's lots of videos online that you can find about that, and I'm sure that there's someone out there who can give you full details on the console version. And without further ado, let's get right into it. So, ARK is an open-world survival sandbox with some adventure-style features. As in Rust, DayZ, and various other survival games, you will begin forced into a world with nothing but the skin on your back and just enough clothing to save yourself from embarrassment. Though, despite these similarities and in its appearance, ARK is an incredibly ambitious game. For many, it looks like any other entry into a now oversaturated survival game genre. But you'll quickly come to realize that that's not the case. Should you invest the time, the game will see you progress from a naked man with a spear prowling around on a beach to futuristic Power Ranger with your own fortress and dinosaurs as pets. It's a challenging experience though, and if you're expecting to be able to just hop in game, play for minimal hours at a time, and find yourself wielding immense power within the week, then you're sorely mistaken. One of ARK's most notable features is its grind. Resource gathering and creature taming takes a long time, and I should imagine that for a lot of people this is what dissuades them from playing it. However, that doesn't have to be the case. There are many features in the game, such as resource gathering and taming, that can be altered for a much quicker and less grindy experience. There are many servers with increased taming and gathering speeds, which streamlines the advancement of the players, making for a more fluid and interesting gameplay experience. should you choose to, you could host your own server, provided you have the money, of course. It's also worth noting that for a lot of players, I think the grind is what makes the game special. Someone likes the challenge of having to grind and gather materials for hours on end just so that they can do something. It's a sense of achievement, you know? But it's also important to bear in mind that ARK also has a single-player storyline sort of thing. It's commendable to have. To be a PvP multiplayer game and have a single-player storyline is quite ambitious. There are 4 bosses that the player can choose to face alone or with friends if they want, and I'll admit, it's bloody hard. So if you want a very challenging single-player experience, then ARK is definitely for you. I've seen lots of people praise the storyline in ARK, but in complete honesty, it's not really that special. Sure, the lore is interesting, but the storyline is only found if you explore the map for hours on end, finding these tiny little explorer notes, which is somewhat rewarding as they do provide XP for the player, but it's also completely optional and doesn't really affect your progression that much. And personally, I just found that it was a little bit underwhelming. Personally, for me, I think the charm of ARK is found in the challenges it presents you with as a player. Where the game truly thrives is in its community. Don't get me wrong here, you can play ARK by yourself should you choose to, but the multiplayer is where the game is truly brought to life. Whether you play on a public server or a private server with your friends, or even on a public server by yourself but in a member of a tribe, the game becomes far more enjoyable when played with others. The gameplay suddenly feels far more dynamic. Taming your first dinosaur with your friends by your side is a spectacle and a memory that I won't soon forget after I played ARK for the first time, and it will likely be a similar experience for you. The way that gear, building, and taming progresses is incredibly satisfactory. Starting small and weak, and then gradually increasing in both size and strength, upgrading gradually from cloth clothing to steel armor, from thatch buildings to metal fortresses, and from herbivores to the most feared apex predators in history is a fantastic feeling. The pacing of the upgrades is incredibly well executed, and with the additions of PvP and supply crates that drop around the map, the advancement system of the game largely feels very entertaining and highly dynamic. You can be someone who doesn't really have that much of a base, or someone who isn't doing so well on the server, and then you can suddenly get really lucky with a good drop, and suddenly you'll have yourself like a long neck rifle and a bunch of bullets, and you can take out somebody should they pose a threat to you. And it just makes the gameplay feel a lot more entertaining because it feels as if anything can happen. It's not so out there that you could become the most powerful player on the server with one supply crate. It's nothing like that. It's just little nice additions to the game that help you they help you along the way. They're not immensely impactful, but they're nice to have, you know? However, that's not to say that the system is perfect. In fact, the building system in ARK can be quite frustrating at times with its various restrictions and quirks, not being able to place building blocks inside of cliffs, or being able to place certain building blocks but not others. It's a little bit annoying. But with time and experience, you'll get used to it and you won't be running into those problems anywhere near as often. The combat can feel quite clunky at times, which is slightly off-putting, but it's not really that impactful either. The midpoint of the game is arguably the most frustrating, as it becomes almost vital at that point to possess certain dinosaurs or creatures should you want to progress effectively. Else you'll be faced with a grind wall the size of Mount Everest. And let's be honest, no one really wants that. Of course, this can be remedied if you put up the gathering rates and make it so that you have 3 times harvesting on the server or whatever it is. But it's still somewhat of a chore, even if you do have that, for the newer players who are unaware of how or in what manner they should aim to progress. So it's not exactly a new player-friendly game, but it is a lot of fun once you sort of get an understanding of what's going on. Should you have bought and played ARK a year or 2 ago, you probably would have run into some bugs and issues almost immediately. and they somewhat soured the gameplay experience, such as poorly designed maps, missing textures, glitches, poorly coded dino AI, the list goes on. But all of these issues that I just mentioned and more have been drastically improved upon since its launch in 2017, and by 2020 it is pretty pristine. It's not amazing, and it's not completely perfect, but it's getting there. And shout out to the developers for actually taking note of what their community have been saying and trying their best to fix as many problems as possible. I feel like I should take a moment to applaud them for making that effort. However, it is also important to remember that although they have been improved massively, they are still present in some areas, and as such, you should be wary of them. None of the bugs are game-breaking, however, they can cause you some minor annoyances while you play. Fortunately for ARK, the majority of its issues are minor and can be solved by the player themselves through modding or simply playing the game differently and learning where these issues lie and just avoiding them. Learning where, when, and why glitches happen is the best asset for an ARK player, as it means that they should know what to do and know what they shouldn't do. So, do I think ARK is worth playing in 2020? Yes, I do. Maybe I'm slightly biased when I say that, but I do genuinely think that if you like the look of this game, and you think that riding dinosaurs would be cool, building your own base would be cool, and all of that, I think you would like this game. Sure, it has some imperfections, but I love the game despite them, because the sense of reward that the game provides you with is enough for me to look past those issues. The feeling of playing with friends on ARK is outstandingly fun, and the constant, ever-looming threat of danger is terrifying yet exhilarating. Do I think it's for everyone? No, of course I don't. Some people will love it, some people will hate it, but I think it's a game that everybody should at least try before they make up their minds completely. My one bit of advice for any newcomers is don't get too attached to your first dinos, because chances are they're not going to live. And always have backup gear in your house or wherever your base is set up, because you're going to die, and getting your stuff back is going to be a pain in the backside if you don't have the proper... You don't have a proper system in place to then try and get it back. You want some backup stuff. So, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more. I will see you guys in the next one. And let me know if you guys would be interested in seeing an ARK playthrough, because I've been playing this game for probably the last 3 weeks solidly, and I've been really, really enjoying it. I think I'm on like 250 hours now, but that's because it's a great game, in my opinion. And yeah, if you guys want to see some gameplay, just let me know. And thank you guys all so much for watching the video. Peace!